Welcome to Ninjanuary, where I'm going to play a whole bunch of games that I got on the list that are all ninja themed in one way or another, starting with N. Here's the story.
And
in case you were wondering about the plot of this very simple, very challenging platformer.
wow, I am amazed at how much exposition they're fitting into this. And they're just like, look, it's a platformer. Seriously, it's just a platformer.
And you have
and
1.5 minutes to beat a couple levels, and you get extra time by collecting gold. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean,
I am impressed that they actually thought of a story. I like the design here. This is good choices.
cosmetic stuff
But,
all over the place.
I watched the trailer for this, and I know that this is just like a pure like uncut Colombian cocaine kind of platformer.
It is floaty platforming, but it is very... there's a lot of stuff you can do, as you can see here. A bunch of enemies,
Yeah.
everything like that. But to be honest, I don't really know how much there is to really talk about the game. So we're just going to watch me play through like a row of levels for each one of these episodes. Probably going to be a grand total of about 5 of them from the N++ pack, because I'm not going to go do all of them. This is already like so very long as it is, and I also got you along here, second guy, to just try to buff out the commentary a little bit.
I'm just here to be the podcast guy.
Yeah, basically. I mean, hey, it's worked well with Persona, a game where nothing ever happens. You already did that in the series.
much
Don't
less-
even start it. Don't do it.
Well, I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm not even tempted to. It's quite funny that we're trying to pad out the content, but like, okay, no, you can't do the talking heads bit. That's
You can't.
That's
Oh,
not
we
happening.
can't just keep doing the same thing over. Well, anyway, as you can
That's
see, like
true.
I said, very floaty platforming, but as soon as you get used to it, it's very good. Stuff like jumping up on the corners, slanted areas gives you like an extra boost, and you can use that to basically get all the way across the level. I could probably, at least for these first couple levels, at least attempt to go and get some of the gold, or beat each one of these 5 levels in one life or something. But this is gonna be a big old game, and this is the easiest thing. And to get through this entire row, it took me about 2.5 hours.
So I guess my first question, just watching this, is how does it control? Does it feel like, okay, this is a really organic, game, like, because it's a pure platformer? How does it function as a platformer compared to, like Super Meat Boy or Celeste or something?
It is a lot looser. I would actually compare more to Super Meat Boy, where it's just like it's loose, but it is accurate. So it takes a little bit to get used to, but as soon as you do, you can basically do whatever you need to in the game pretty well. It's like you get a lot of movement options with your little ninja man. And yes, he is explicitly called a ninja, hence why this fits entirely within the confines of Ninjanuary.
Okay. By the way, you probably want to wall jump over that razor, like on the
It's
same
clearly
side.
a mine. It's exploding. Come on now.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Well, anyway,
Learn the
that first
language of
question,
the game.
we're-
Learn the lore, nerd.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. That first question where I asked about Celeste and Meat Boy, that was my one intelligent question. After this, it's just gonna be the dumbest bullshit. Like,
Well,
I
the
don't know.
thing
how
is,
to
it's just like
say
what you're
intelligent
seeing
things.
here is the entire game. So, thankfully, not
Yeah.
playing this live. No, this is going to be all pre-recorded because, come on, are you kidding me? I got to do a lot of. There we go, got it. I got to do a
Yeah, see,
lot of
that's what I was
editing
saying.
on this one.
You took my advice and you succeeded.
It's, you need momentum. This game is a lot about momentum, and getting that will get you bigger jumps, higher jumps, etc., and so on. And not getting that results in your death. Just say that right
I
now.
actually just played Super Meat Boy for the first time at like my brother's place, and it's just like, I am. It's surprising like how fast you adapt to it. Just those weird like timing and stuff.
Super Meat Boy is also pretty. I mean, it is a game that is also. Yeah, I would compare it to this. It's that and Celeste. I think when I was doing the Celeste series, I described as a challenge platformer in particular, because it's not like Mario. You're supposed to have very tight controls. instant restarts, infinite lives, etc., and so on. And this is very much the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as fast, but the platforming itself is a lot. Like I said, the floatiness makes it feel funkier, but not like in a way that's bad. Anyway, the point that the thing I'm doing wrong here is that you got to run up the wall because that gets you extra height. Well, you got to run up the incline because that gets you extra height when you're actually doing the platforming, and that was something
this
that took
game
me
has
a little
good
bit.
vibes. Sorry, I was just gonna say the game has good vibes. I like.
Oh
this.
man, you're not even hearing the
Just
music. It is just
simplicity.
all ambient stuff all the time. It ain't bad.
I can pretty easily imagine.
However,
that,
it's just like I just remember one point, you know, the Trap Nation, no, Trapaholics. Damn son, where'd you find this? It's just like they sampled that in one of the songs, and that was all I could think about for a while. You've heard that before, right?
yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm glad because it's just like this is not just something. It's just some weird thing that I picked up on some corner of the internet and nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about, right?
That's one of those. Well, here's the thing. It's one of those. Now that you're describing it to me, I feel like I know it, but it could just be because once you say that, it's like, oh yeah, of course I know that. But I don't know.
I don't know how much of a meme it is or if that was just something that I picked up somewhere. Whatever, you know.
Say it again, I guess.
Like the audio
for the-
jungle or like the voice changing thing when people try to sound like Yoda or whatever. They got that annoying thing in the background if you don't buy the full version of it. Or keygen music. You know keygen music.
Yeah, that's a classic thing. I think Luke, friend of the channel, has like gone into this whole like he knows a lot about that. It's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, like there's like, oh yeah, I recognize that song because it was used on keygens back in the day, and it's like, yeah, it's a good song,
Yeah.
but what a weird way that became famous. I don't know. It's
Do people know about do the kids these days know about keygens?
I should hope
or
not. They'll
at
be
all?
going to prison. Otherwise, don't
that's
admit
right,
it. Don't do it.
You wouldn't steal a car.
I could have got all three of those. All you need to do is just run off. And yeah, this is. By the way, the if you didn't notice before, the name of the level is appearing in the bottom right corner each time. It's like, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cute.
They all got like little cutesy names, but you know that's because there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of levels in this game.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know, I'll say this: I did actually play not N++, but N+ back in the day. Yeah, we're doing post-script incrementation on these games for some reason. Don't ask me why. But it's like, yeah, even that at that point in time, it was a big game. And although I liked it, I never was like, oh yeah, I got to go complete every one of the levels with all the gold or anything. So in some ways, I do kind of like coming back to it. Certainly enjoyed it the first time that I played it, but it's like, oh god, it's only just become even more enormous in time.
So this is going to take like how many episodes is ballpark?
I'm going to say 5 episodes because what I'll do is I will be
Okay.
editing it down a lot. We'll be doing post commentary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one row of the N++ levels. I didn't realize that they were, you know, just like right over in one of the other menus when I initially started this. So we're doing a few of the like intro levels. Probably a good idea anyway, considering I haven't played the game in 10,
Yep.
15 years.
Yeah, this game is pretty hypnotic to watch, I have to say. It's just like really, really just
It works.
you just float. It's so floaty. It just like really the gravity. It feels like you're on a moon.
Yeah,
or
gravity,
something.
momentum. It's the power of the ninja, man. Yeah, it works pretty well on the whole like channel that has a lot to do with, the art of landing on edges, on slanted edges, so that you don't die. Because otherwise, you just there is fall damage in the game. It doesn't come up a lot. It does come up.
You have to fall like from the top of something like this room.
It's pretty
get it?
big. Like it's a pretty big distance you have to fall, but that does kind of throw a wrench in the whole plan of doing like speed running on some levels. Oh god. But see, like
This
there,
is kind of
totally fine.
mesmerizing to watch because like you could just see like things like where you jump off like the side of that wall or the side of one of those platforms, which really don't have any surfaces on them. So
Yeah, it's generous. Of course, it kind of needs to be. Come on now. But that one was enough to kill me.
oh,
You can also land. You can also like a wall climb to prevent fall damage, etc., and so on. Much like another series I've been doing on the channel, Tower Climb. I've been enjoying that game. I don't know if you've been watching it. Oh wait, you haven't. You don't watch any videos on my channel.
No, I don't, except the ones that I'm in.
Stupid narcissist. Anyway, make sure that the
I'm not.
make sure that it's slanting. You know, like the slant is not facing towards you, because otherwise that does count as solid ground for dying. Ah, dang.
I'm not narcissistic, and the fact that you're pointing that out cuts against my narrative of my. You see what?
Yes. I get it.
I
I knew you were launching into a bit there the second you started that. Well, anyway, you were talking about like the hypnotic gameplay. I think that works well with the whole like Dead Cells that I usually have on the channel. That is another game that it's like when you do it right, baby, looks great.
Yeah, absolutely.
However,
and it's got that whole visual cohesion, which is so important for gaming, like game design. It just
simple
looks like
and obvious.
This looks
how
like
you play
these
this
are
game.
beautiful little objects, and there's only like one. There's basically one button and control stick, basically.
Oh,
right?
I'm not even using the control stick. I'm using D-pad. I need like really
Of
good
course.
control. I can't have me accidentally like pressing left or right when I don't want to. Actually, same thing with Dead Cells, which people are always like, "What? You don't play with the joystick?" It's like, no, like you don't. This is all you need to do is press left and right. You don't need to like go up and down or at angles, except for very very rare situations. Actually, I don't even think at all in this game, but in Dead Cells, it's like, yeah, you go up and down like chains, and that's it. And usually you'll do that accidentally if you're trying to use the joystick. People,
I kind of wish there was like the Super Meat Boy thing where they show you all the different timelines, because I think that would look really cool with this game specifically.
yeah, that would be pretty fun. I don't even know what I was thinking with that one. It was like, I can probably get that gold, right? Why? As you can see, I haven't really had too much issue. There's a timer on top. It goes down between the levels until you beat the episode, which is all 5 of the levels. But to be honest, I haven't really had too much of an issue with that as of just yet. I'm still collecting the gold to try and up it some, but it's just, well, I'm sure that probably as I get farther into the game, it's going to become more important. I've already seen some.
And I think
like that.
One of the things that is really hypnotic about this game is just that it's like, well, first of all, really cool electrical beam there on the bottom, just minor thing, but that's a nice little design thing. But then, like, you can kind of like, there is a trick to each level, or it's like at most 2 or 3 tricks. So it's not like, I don't know if that'll change as we get further into the game.
I don't think so.
But it is just like, but it is a little bit like every single one is a sort of this like nice little atomic puzzle of sorts.
A puzzle of
it's
fingers.
Not like, like it's not like, oh yeah, I've got to nail 50 jumps in a row. It's more like, well, I've got to nail 4 jumps in a row and they all have the same gimmick.
Got these little specific things that you need to do, and none of them are like really wacky or different from each other. It's like you save, you know, as you can see here, it's like big hallway. Go left and right. Swizzle, it's called specifically. Oh, and by the way, you saw at the end there that it's like, yeah, that was the first time that I noticed. It's like, oh, that's where the rest of the episodes are. And I was just kind of looking through them. And that's when I realized it's just like, okay, well, let's skip the intro stuff, go directly into the N++ tab, and just do that one. I mean, the task is to beat the game, and I don't know if this has like a traditional end of game when it comes to kind of completing the force me to play a game list. But I think that completing the one that is the name of the game is a good start. Whatever. Also, yes, as you get a little bit farther, you do unlock like new skins, which are automatically applied, and I just let it go. Why not? They're fun. A little bit more vaporwavy purple type stuff, a regal color. I like it. Some of them are easier to understand than others. I'll say that right now. I'll point that out when it comes up. But as of right now, it's like, hey, at least you can tell what is gold and what is an enemy. Some of the, looking at you, some of the other flavor styles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm always kind of like of two minds when it comes to challenge platformers in particular. I was talked about that with Celeste in particular when I was doing it. It's that it's not so much that it even takes all that long to go through a lot of these levels, but the really challenging ones just get so stressful that I just want to avoid it at all costs. It's the same reason why I don't want to take on.
Avoids that?
Hmm?
Would you say that this one mostly avoids that? You
As
feel like
of
this gets
yet.
stressful as you go on? Okay.
For now. It's like I can just see, having 5 of these cannon launcher whatever Cyber Demon retirement community. I get it. Yeah, it's like having like 5 of those shooting at you at once and like spending 10 minutes trying to beat this level. I could just imagine that being like, I can only do 10 minutes and then I got to take the rest of the day off, which is kind of how it was with Celeste sometimes.
I can imagine, yeah.
Where I'm just like, it didn't even take all that long to beat even some of the really difficult levels. It's just, oh god, it felt longer than maybe any other game I played on the channel.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing with like really difficult roguelites, which is why I was very hesitant about starting up something like Tower Climb initially, because I'm like, oh god. Even though I did end up liking that game a lot, it's just, it's such a daunting thing. Because, hey, you have difficult platforming and also permanent death? Yeah. That's one of those things where it's just like, oh, sure, I play Dead Cells a lot on the channel, but Dead Cells I got a ton of experience with. You start in Tabula Rasa on a roguelite, and it's like, oh, you got a big learning process ahead of you.
Yeah, definitely.
It ain't, and even if the channel is known for playing a game like that, I'm just like, I don't know how many more of those I want to just like tackle at once, because I gotta beat it if I take it on, right?
I've asked you this in the past, and
yes,
that was funny.
I know.
Sorry. But like, yeah, you mentioned there's not a ton of like transfer of learning between like a game like Dead Cells and this kind of a game. It's very much like being great at Dead Cells doesn't make you great at any other game necessarily.
Oh, I think that's very obvious with a lot. Usually when you're starting up like a YouTube channel, especially, it's like you got like the one game you're really good at, and that's how people find you in the first. Damn it, that's how people find you in the first place. But then it's like usually after like branching out into different stuff, it becomes very obvious that your skill set is mostly geared towards one game.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot
weird.
of like Germa 985 stuff. And it's like that dude was known for playing a lot of Team Fortress 2 back in the day, getting like 50 kill streaks with the Pyromancer. That's not his name, but you know what I mean. And it's just like in these days, it's like he doesn't know how to play Super Mario RPG. Okay then.
Well, that's a game that aren't you like particularly expert in that one? No, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of other.
I have played it like several times, to be fair. But yeah, it's like, oh man, I can be better at stuff like you would think that it's like, hey, I'm good at platformers, be good at like this basic stuff, and I don't know, man. I'm not gonna lie here. It might not be apparent. There is a little bit of editing that goes in here and there. And I said that it's like it took 2.5 hours to beat this, and this video is clearly not 2.5 hours long. Yeah. Well, hey, that's a great thing about editing. You can just maybe make it seem like you're better at the game than you actually are.
Well, that's a transferable skill. You edit Dead Cells enough, you can edit anything.
Well, Dead Cells hasn't even been that bad. More like if I edit Persona enough. Or actually, probably more like, I don't know. Yeah, like Celeste, I guess.
Yeah.
Throw in
Celeste,
ton
that
of
was
edits
impressive.
there.
I know it, like where you did the fast motion for the attempts. I like that.
I actually went through that a little bit with Dead Cells back in the day too. Back in the OG season 1, what I would do is I would throw on some sort of video game music in the vain attempt at somebody. It's just like, maybe I'll get like extra comments asking me about what the music is. No, you idiot. I'm just like, whatever. I'm gonna do it anyway. I got a lot of music to throw onto this, and the 2 times speed Dead Cells music is not like,
Well, I mean, it would have been better if you were, if you didn't always use the same track from RoboCop. like the title track.
God, that would be. You know the RoboCop. Actually, no, I'm not thinking of. There was a game that was going to be a RoboCop game, Journey to Silius, that had some really great music. So it's like, it's not. No, that was supposed to be a Terminator game. Ah, damn it! I'm forgetting everything about this. You know what? Let's just ignore the entire story that I was telling there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in the end, we learned our lessons.
Learned our lessons to not to say things when you don't have an escape route.
By the way, I'm just wondering, how much mid-air control do you have?
It's
hard to
good,
tell.
but the momentum can take over and make it really hard to like course correct if you're trying to go speedy.
That makes sense. I mean, and really, you can, it's one of those fundamental things. You can't have both. You can't have something where you have a ton of momentum as a mechanic and mid-air control. That wouldn't make sense, really.
Yeah, you're talking about like Super Meat Boy, and it's just like that game, tight controls, very, very careful design, but it's just like the momentum can get you and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got like the wall jumping and everything. At least, I don't know. It's been a long time since I played Meat Boy, the original Flash version of that game, to really remember exactly how it controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Never actually played Super Meat Boy. And I guess I probably should. There's actually been a sequel that's come out. It has nothing to do with Eggman McMuffin. It's just an entirely different development team. And it's not carefully designed levels. It's an infinite runner. Very cute cutscenes, though, and I'm just kind of like, I like some stuff, but man, without the very careful, carefully designed levels built for speedrunning and everything, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're enjoying that game, maybe?
Well, I played it for the first time. I want to be clear. I don't know if I had a really amazing experience with it. It was just, wow, I had never played that before, and wow, I can totally see the appeal of that. Like, I could see why somebody might put in like 500 hours into a game like that.
Oh yeah, some pretty hardcore. I mean, I've watched a few speedruns of Super Meat Boy just because it's like it looks very good.
Mm-hmm.
But it is also, one of those games that does get quite difficult by the end.
Yeah, like even by the end of the first zone, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty wild. And there's things I can do, like I can jump over the boss, and it was completely by accident. And imagine if they, structure the levels so you have to do that. I can imagine how that would be like one of the most difficult games.
Oh, yeah, one of the fun things about speedrunning in that game is that it's just like you can just totally bypass those bosses in some ways too.
Yeah,
just by doing the right
I'm
thing.
sure.
Of course, there's no surprise on that, but Eggman McMuffin, whatever I'm calling him, is originally worked in the art of Flash games, and that meant that there was some stuff that happened in them.
I never would have guessed that he had worked on Flash games when playing.
Oh, the original Binding of Isaac was all Flash, baby. It ran terribly. It ran so badly. Thankfully, we got Rebirth now, and in 3 months, a new update is coming out for that. One that was announced like 3 years ago or something. Certainly, it feels that way. I'll probably end up playing for the channel. I do quite like that game, even if they're taking their sweet time, and also a million other people play that game too. But whatever.
By the way, we can't judge anyone for taking their sweet time because Persona 5 is not going to be done until 2022.
Oh no, it's going to be done by 2021. Trust me. But it's
okay.
But I might die in the process.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's actually a little bit terrifying that you're saying that, because I believe you're gonna do it.
I said that it's just like we're gonna start doing like weekly updates, my dude, and that means that I'm gonna start going like clockwork when it comes to actually making that series come out at least a little bit more consistently. Speaking of which, look forward to the next episode. It's and you can just slot that line in for any episode.
Yeah, we always say it before we record. It's like, oh.
It's like, so is this going to be a good one? No. Is it going to be a particularly bad one? Yes.
Yes, but in a new way. It's not It's not quite. It's a new kind of bad. You haven't seen this one before. So
To be fair, that's
novel.
what the last episode was.
Yeah.
You know what? At least this episode isn't challenging to me, both in beliefs and also just like general sense of decorum.
It's only one or the other, right?
Oh yeah, no, it never happens at the same time, and for some, we have to. Why can't just have that infect every single series we do? It's happened in Omicron as well.
I mean, it happened in The Witness. I mean, we're kind of just like morally. I think a little bit. I mean, we spent a lot of time shitting on Jonathan Blow.
Well, yeah, but that's not the same thing. I don't think it's the same thing as shitting on Jonathan Blow is not the same thing as shitting on Persona in series where that's not happening.
Yeah, that's more of a religious obligation than a moral offense.
Yes, it's our weekly observance to shit on Jonathan Blow. Even though it's like, I believe by the end of that series, you did call that like like one of the most important like video games that have come out in like the past 10 years or something.
Well, it's near perfect. It's just that he tries to be deep about it in a way that doesn't really work. Like they clearly just didn't know what they were trying to do with like
that was so disappointing to me finding out about that by the end there. Where it's like I actually did attempt to like kind of unravel the plot of that game. Hey, you know what this game ain't gonna have? When you saw the plot.
It proudly, if you watch the trailer for N++, it proudly brags about not having anything extraneous besides the platform.
And I do want to say, platforming's pretty goddamn good. If you want to like actually really get into the speed running, deathless, getting all the gold, it's like, damn, dude, there's a lot you can get out of this game. I quite like it. It's just, you know, what are you gonna do LP wise for it?
Yeah,
that's why I got you here. And then, you know, I kind of went over that
to fill time. But yeah, with The Witness, I mean, I did do kind of a deep dive. I read a lot of people's interpretations of it. You know, like, oh, this is the Diamond Sutra and stuff, and it was pretty interesting. One of the most interesting things was a review from I think it was like Austin Walker from Giant Bomb in that podcast, Friends at the Table. He mentioned just offhand that he had read an early review of it from like 2013, and originally the audio logs were like personal stuff about Jonathan Blow, like they were. You know what I mean?
I remember you telling me about that, and I'm just like, oh my god.
And I'm like I'm glad we got this version, but that just kind of points to like
there was nothing. There was never anything.
Yeah.
And like I was sitting there trying to like figure out, going through like the cavern dialogues, being like, okay, I think I see what they're trying to get. And it's like, no, it's nothing. You idiot. By the way, when you unlock something, it does say fun locked.
It does say. Oh, okay.
It does say fun locked.
Oh, that's cute.
So that's, you're not really gonna see it a whole lot. It just appears in the upper right corner whenever I get that. But we got this nice seafoam green style. I don't know. Kind of like the last one.
Yeah, this is I mean, it's like, it's nice to have like the variety. I feel like this is one of those like where, because they've so aggressively cut out all other extraneous elements of gameplay, they just have to add it in, like, fuck it, some cosmetics.
Hey, unlocks are fun. The line that they gave you there about fun locks is, oh man. Okay. The line they had there, yeah, it looked like stuff might have been crashing for a second. Don't worry about it, everybody at home. When you don't have anything else in the game, just having like some sort of cosmetic unlocks, I think, is a pretty good thing. We were just talking about The Witness. It's like unlocking new areas, figuring out new tech, finding like final boss puzzles, and, you know, getting the big laser. It's like, regardless of how much you didn't want it to be a traditional video game, it was. And it is.
It's one of those things where, I mean, and I don't want this to be completely just like a rehashing of The Witness, but fuck it, what are we going to talk about?
Wait, we can talk about game. I think like general theories of game design or whatever, and like observations we've seen by playing video games before. It's like it's entirely relevant to a very pure gameplay focused game like this one.
Yeah. And the thing is, I thought that if we look at it as the audio logs and the videos, and just the quote, just everything like that. If we look at that as just being like cosmetic, extraneous stuff, that's like, okay, get you thinking about the puzzles, like it's like a Zen experience. Like, I think you can justify it on that level as, and it's like, it's not deep, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to be, stimulating and get you across the finish line. And I just feel like the game was trying to be more than that, and that's where that's the only problem. It's
Yes.
like it acted like it had a plot, kind of, and that was the problem. It wasn't that it.
Yeah.
If it was
That was the
just
thing
that,
I was frustrated
it
with
would've
it.
been fine.
If it was just like, hey, check out these cool statues.
Yeah.
That would have been fine. Yeah, that's fine. But obviously, it's like, it felt like there was supposed to be something, especially with the secret ending and the cavern logs, but it just wasn't. Like, I think we can pretty conclusively say that it wasn't.
Yeah. And I think I have a friend who like said, oh yeah, I felt like it kind of cheated me to have that ending. And it's like, with the record player. And it's like, I kind of see that because it's like, it was awesome. I thought it was really interesting, but it was like, it kind of broke the cohesion.
It is,
it was like, okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like, it's just different from the rest of the game, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, okay, it's the extra boss.
Gameplay wise, it was, obviously for a game that is supposed to be very slow and all about like gradually learning more and more, understanding your surroundings better and how to interact with them, and then to have something that's just straight up timed. It's a great sequence.
Yeah.
Very, very good sequence. Very, like, maybe some of the best usages of music I've ever seen in a video game. But like,
oh yeah.
It is kind of cheating,
like,
considering how the rest of the game worked.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't just be like, oh, okay, we don't really know how to make a puzzle harder, so we're just going to make it timed. It's the same sort of thing as like OG Final Fantasy, for example, where we don't really know how to make this very challenging turn-based experience, so we just made it timed. I've never been a big fan of that, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Rest of the game. Obviously, just finished playing Final Fantasy VI, and that game's still pretty goddamn solid. So can't be too mad at it, even though a little bit of gripes with just a small part of the actual gameplay itself. Oh, this one took me a little while to get through. Not so much because it's like particularly difficult to make these jumps. It's just the cosmic clones, or the Shadow Rayman, as I like to call them back in Celeste, because they appeared there too. Speaking of which, it's like getting around them is difficult, especially if you really are trying to go for the gold.
So those are actually like just you in like a two second delay kind of
Yeah,
thing.
cosmic clones.
That's interesting. So in other words, it's sort of like it's an obstacle where you can't backtrack. That's interesting.
It is also, I mean, it's not so much that you can't backtrack; it's that you have to plan out your backtracking so you don't accidentally do that.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's 4-dimensional backtracking, kind of. It's
especially if you're activating multiple of them to create a whole
Or
bunch of them,
3-dimensional,
like I'm doing right now. I don't need the gold, and I'm not even trying to collect all the gold. That's not like the part of the game as of right now. I'm just like, but what if I do need that extra time for like the final level of this, and that never happens, at least yet. Jesus, I was close, but hey, you get to the end. It's like it doesn't matter as long as you get to the end, you win.
By the way, just in terms of like game philosophy, I've been thinking about playing Hades, and now that you mentioned like the use of music in The Witness, like I think one of the most important things that games can do, I don't want to say important, that makes it sound like making this statement about human nature or something. No, one of the coolest things that games are capable of is sort of doing two things at once with like interactivity, where using music, like there's nothing comparable in human history in like all of games to what you're doing with that puzzle with with the Witness, the ending with the the record player.
Yeah, the
like
super
nothing
boss.
compares to that. Yes, nothing compares to that. It's and like when you have something like I don't know, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which is again I don't play a ton of games, so I don't have a lot of references.
I don't know if you've
But
ever
just,
actually
like,
referenced that
things
one.
with
Mostly just been Danganronpa lately.
yeah, but like even that, like that is a good example. Like there's mechanics where you tell the truth, but there's
Yes?
points in the series where you actually have to lie, and it's very.
Oh, I lost you for a
impactful
second there.
Because can you hear me
Yeah.
now? Well, okay. So that series, of course, has the trial mechanic, and that's kind of a central thing where you're trying to uncover the truth through these games and stuff, and it's cute. It's
It's
usually
cute as people get
pretty
murdered
decent.
all the time. I don't even know that much about the game, and I know that.
But the thing is, sometimes they'll throw a curveball in where you lie, where you have to lie, and that's how you have to progress in the narrative. And it's like that's really impactful because what they've done is they've sort of created this, narrative interactive universe, and now they're fucking like playing around with it. They're doing that, and I don't think you get that in. Like it's hard to do that in other media that aren't like games or aren't like in an
Closest
interactive
thing
engine.
that I would say is like having a big notable twist in a story,
Yeah,
where it's like that does force you to kind of like re-examine what you know about how the plot works. But that's also one of those things that is very, very difficult to pull off well. I always talk about that, where having a twist in any sort of media, of course, is a interesting way to reevaluate what you already know about the show, movie, a book you're reading. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it will gel well with the rest of the storyline, or that there's too much of any place to go after you introduce it to Omicron.
Yeah, well, yeah, writing a twist is really hard, and I'm not. Yeah,
And yet, it
well,
does not
I'm really
stop
just saying,
anybody from ever trying it.
Well, the thing is with games, though, I guess what I'm saying is like, in every medium you have some equivalent of like a murder mystery, but only in games, just by the nature of them, only like interactive media can you actually like guide somebody's hand, to commit the murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you are controlling them on a level. You're controlling them, and they're in turn controlling the game themselves. A lot of times they have agency. So I mean, it's totally new. Like there's not an analog of that in previous media.
That's an interesting thing to bring up because recently, I mean, in the last year, you had this is not anything new for video games, but it's probably the most recent example that I can think of it was The Last of Us Part 2 that came out, where the quest for vengeance of the main character was supposed to be something you, the player yourself, was also feeling, and then the game was going to like make commentary on that. But if you didn't feel the exact way the developers intended for you to feel, it came off as just patronizing and horrible and obnoxious. And so it's like you can try and guide people into doing something specifically, but if they don't, or if you just force them to do it, and then you're like, well, what are you, a terrible person for doing this? It's like those kind of fall flat. It's not something that's perfect, but it is just something that saying that immediately remind me of interactivity. It's like a movie. Characters in a movie are going to feel a specific way, and you can connect with them even if they are not doing exactly what you would want them to do. However, in a game, when you're actually allegedly supposed to be controlling them, it is a very different type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that whole thing where it's like you're making commentary, but it's like it's going to fall completely flat if you don't understand your audience really, really well. Like if you're trying to like, make some statement about, you're the real villain in society.
That was that was that game, from what I understand.
I haven't played it, so
I haven't either. But it's just like you couldn't get away from it for a while there, man.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a you man. You know what? I'm not going to bring up Persona again. Anyway, let's just not.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's just not. Anyway,
well,
Silent Protagonist. Anyway, okay, that's it. That was it. That was the entire thing.
Yeah, the problem with complaining about Persona is that it's overdetermined. There's too many things wrong with it, and it's hard to complain. Like, we find individual things in each episode to complain about, but there are really multiple things
But
we
there's
could
so
be complaining
many.
about.
There's so
editing
many.
about.
It's like I'm always tempted to just go and do like a full on
Just
like
analysis.
analytical review pointing out everything like many other channels on YouTube do. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I constantly get like recommendations for like these 80, like 45-minute video on like what went wrong with South Park. Like
Yep.
what season did it go downhill?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But it's just like sometimes I think that, might be just a little bit of clickbaitiness going on there, but not gonna say that there aren't plenty of videos like that do not have some that don't have something to actually say.
Yeah, a lot of the analysis on YouTube is decent. There's a lot of good stuff, and then there's a lot of crap.
And there's a lot of like nitpicky stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like, this very basic plot hole means the entire movie is garbage.
I watched this 40-minute episode on like what season did Rick and Morty go? When did Rick and Morty stop being good? And it was just like clearly they just didn't like the Pickle Rick episode.
Really? I don't know. I thought that episode was pretty good, memes aside.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good too.
Much like Undertale,
okay.
it's like memes aside, it's a pretty damn good game.
Yeah.
However,
Can't ignore the
memes are still
memes.
funny. I will not stop making them.
Yes.
Sans Undertale will live on in Persona. Damn it! It's right back there again.
Sans is the best character of all time. It's like our top 5 video game character ever.
Top 5 video game characters. Number 1, Super Mario. And then
Who could forget the classic Super Mario and his friend the Donkey
Super
Kong and
Mario.
the Luigi and such. And the Koopa and the Toad and the
or the Nintendo Council.
and the Princess Peach and Princess
Along with
Daisy,
his good
kind of-
friend Zelda.
Yeah.
And Metroid. And Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. Okay.
I don't know. There was nothing.
right.
There was nothing.
It
Anyway,
was
I think here's
amusing.
another
It
level
was-
where I got really greedy trying to get all the gold that I possibly could for no reason, even though I had no plans on
Well,
attempting to get all of it, which is the only thing that would really matter if you're attempting that.
In fairness, the level is called Money Pit.
It is called Money
So
Pit. It's a pit full of money. And certainly the names have not lied in this game as of just yet. It's not too bad.
they're not going for narrative subversion. That's more bullshit that games don't need.
Yeah, you know what? Do what you say and say what you do. That's what I say and do.
Well, that's a little bit redundant to even point that out.
Is it redundant or is it just reinforcing exactly what I said?
And that's true. Kind of both.
I would say that because of that, I am superior to all media.
This is going to be a little bit rough to finish this series. I think.
Yeah, we're already running out of stuff to say. We ran out of
just
stuff to
on-
say and we barely even started.
This would, if you're doing a stream, this would be the part where you're like, fuck it. Does anyone have anything to say in chat? And just
And then it's
start
just
some
like,
shit.
I guess we're talking about giant Fudacocks again. Okay.
I have to admit, I was there for that
God
stream.
damn it! Why?
I don't even watch
Why
the streams.
Why did it have to be that stream in particular? Remember also somebody being like, "Hey, I was I told my girlfriend to check you out, and they came in on this stream." And I'm like, "Oh, for God's sake!" Oh, it couldn't have been the New Year's one where I got fucking wasted as all hell. That would be a better one. Damn it. I mean, to be fair, that sort of stuff does not happen infrequently in the chat. And I also promote
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
And don't stop anybody from talking about it. And in fact, join in on it myself.
Absolutely. I mean, you were cultivating that.
Oh yeah, no, and then it got out of hand, or did it? Or was that the entire plan? Yeah, this is the one that I wasn't a huge fan of when it got unlocked. I mean, you know, it's just like even the gold is a little bit hard to see, but of course the white circles of where the mines appear after you run over them are kind of rough to discern, at least at first.
So we know whoever is the colorist on this game is also the colorist on Hyper Light Drifter, I'm assuming.
I mean, it certainly seems like right now. I want to say that sort of
like,
Dayglow.
It's all pastel colors all the time. It looks really good, but it's a little bit rough, yeah. Just
I mean, it's a little bit rough when you got it this bright. This is what happens when you turn off light mode on YouTube. Or turn on light mode on Discord. Whatever. Look, I can't meme. Can't I just meme for 1 second?
Yeah, turn your flux on, people at home.
Well, I don't have flux.
Oh, okay.
I'm a non-flux man. I enjoy stability and not... Yes, I did realize that I didn't actually hit the door button on the other side there. I like stability, and I like the status quo. Hey, kids, you know what's really cool? The status quo.
And not using drugs.
And also not using drugs. And stay in school. Get 8 hours of sleep.
All right, so I feel like we're going to need to stretch this out. We're running in dangerously low in terms of content.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I feel like there's a lot of series that I've done that can be described that way.
Like, this is a disaster, okay?
Whatever.
I mean, the game looks fine. Yeah.
Who do you think is watching past this? How long do we have left? We have 35 minutes left of this, dude. Oh, boy. I don't know. I was thinking about calling you on Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't know.
By the way, I've been seeing a lot of people like suddenly be like praising that. I don't have a PlayStation, so I can't really.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was PlayStation only. I ended up buying it for. Well, I tried to buy it for Steam. Is what I was going to say. I did not end up buying it for Steam. But yeah, it's like I don't know. Here's the thing with AAA games. Like, obviously they got the money. So they're going to look good. They're probably going to play pretty good. They might be a little bit buggy and a little bit unoptimized, trying to get those amazing graphics. But I want to say that it's rare that you're going to get below like a 5 out of 10 with a big name game. Now, it's also rare, I think, that you're going to get above a 7 out of 10.
Well,
so
yeah,
that's
it
good.
Really is.
That's good, but like,
I mean, it's not that good. Like,
especially for somebody like me who
that
just like
10.
really thrives on weird and surreal type of games. It's just like, this is just a well-made, realistic-looking shooter. I'm like, okay. Well, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I like games that challenge the nature of interactivity itself or some shit like that.
Yeah, some dumb bullshit like that.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, it's like, in the last video that I put out, Game of the Year for me, 2018 was Puss, so that's challenged you to play the game in the first place.
I have never even heard of that game. I'm sorry.
Try enjoying this game, you dumb nerd. Because we're going to do as much as possible to make it the most obnoxious experience of your life. And I'm like, I love this. Flashing lights, basically making it impossible to tell what's going on screen. Just the dumbest, memeiest nonsense whenever story actually came up, which it rarely did. Just garbage everywhere. so much sensory overload that you couldn't even believe it. Very solid gameplay, though.
What was that one game you played that was just clearly, it was like that, it was maybe an hour long where you got like the friends, like where you just keep accumulating.
Oh, Tomb of Friends? Yeah, I like that one. That was fun.
What is that again?
Tomb of Friends. It's an RPG Maker game, and the joke was that they just kept adding as many members to the party as the game would allow, which is basically, I don't know, several hundred.
I thought that was hilarious. Like that was that was really funny to watch.
No, I love that game because it's just, you could tell that the entire thing was how do how many party members can you have in an RPG Maker game? And it's like, okay, well, let's make a game around that, I guess.
And it's deliberately just as stupid as humanly.
Oh, yeah, it's
just,
like try to end, what, 3-4 times, I think, before you got to the real end? And the real end was just nothing. Stupid games. I like stupid games. I want more stupid games.
Yeah, some of the best games that have ever been made are just Flash games on Congregate or something. Just like that you play for 2 minutes, and it's like, okay, that was a single joke, but it was really funny, and I'm gonna remember that for years.
Yeah, true. Room of 1,000 Spikes. Let me try to get me play for the what did I call it? Spooktober? Whatever. I didn't even finish it anyway. They didn't have 30 scary games I could play.
You ran out of
Oh, the last one was Subnautica, for God's sake. I don't know. I mean, that's not to say there aren't 30 spooky games to play. I'm just saying that I couldn't find enough of them that would be interesting enough to make a video on.
Yeah.
So instead you got... I still own Subnautica. Should I just play that? Like, yeah,
I have no
that's kind
idea
of how
what
I
that
feel
is.
too. It's an exploration, like, crafting, collecting game. I don't know. I don't like exploration games. Everybody knows this. I make it very clear every single time that somebody tries to get me to play an exploration game.
What is like an exploration game though? Like, can you give me an example other than that? Like,
Okay,
that
so
I
there's
might
not
have
really
played?
like a set area that you're trying to go through, get through, or anything like that. It is just here's big ocean, go in a direction and try and find as much stuff as possible.
Oh, like No Man's Sky would be an example.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
Like
I would. That is, I think, is probably the best comparison you can make. Except it's underwater.
Okay, great.
It's called Subnautica after all,
Ooh, nice.
and obviously not
Yeah.
nearly as ambitious. Probably to the game's credit to a certain extent.
Well, No Man's Sky was famously like they got it right the first time.
Oh yeah,
Gotta
yeah,
give them
yeah.
that.
It's like they shot for the moon and they made it, baby.
Eventually.
Yeah. No, you said first time. You can't just immediately go back on the bit like that.
Oh.
Oh, you ruined it. We got to restart the episode now.
All right, fine. I'll stop after that. Yeah.
I told you this was just going to turn into a podcast. Look, the game is good. N++ is a very good game. It's just, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, by the way, To the Moon. That's an all right game I played. That wasn't great. It's like from 2012.
Yeah, I remember that one being real indie Flash indie darling, right?
It wouldn't surprise me if it was Flash. I don't really know the history of it, but yeah. It's very cutesy indie game. It's basically like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind kind of shit. Just
Yes, Adam
know.
Sandler's best movie. I think.
wait, was Adam Sandler in that?
What? Am I thinking of something else? That was Adam Sandler, right?
No, Adam Sandler was not in that. It was like Jim Carrey.
Oh, well. Well?
Jim Carrey is
Oh no,
actually a
what's my
famous
opinion of
dramatic
Jim
actor now.
Carrey?
Has Jim Carrey been in more dramatic films at this point?
I
than-
thought you were going to say any film, and I was, of course, going to bring up the only film that matters of the past decade.
The Mask?
The past decade!
Oh, is it? Oh my God! It's been like 25 years. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, that
Sorry.
was back when, before I was born. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what's the most important movie of the last
Sonic
decade?
the Hedgehog.
Oh, okay.
Like, what do you think I was talking about? He played Dr.
enough.
Ivo Robotnik, or Eggman, if you actually want to call him the right name. Which I do. Stupid nerds being all like, oh, we're going to give him his dumb robot name. Get it? It's like robot and also sounds vaguely Russian, because they were evil at the time.
Yeah.
Ah. He looks like an egg.
Yeah.
He looks like an egg. He can also run fast.
He looks like an egg.
Did you know that he can actually run
He's
fast
an-
in Sonic?
Is he a robot?
He's not. He does have robotic versions of himself that litter the games, but And
I
there
think
also have
Robotnik
been,
should refer to the
like robot decoys of himself made, back in Sonic Heroes, but he is not a robot himself.
Hold on. So he can run faster than Sonic.
Yes.
Did you say that?
Everybody always forgets that at the end of pretty much every Sonic game, there is a very short sequence after he gets out of whatever the final boss is, that he runs faster than Sonic, even at top speed, to escape from him. So maybe he's just more of a sprinter than like a long distance runner like Sonic, but I do think that it's like nobody ever remembers that he does do that almost at the end of every game.
Well, he's got really long legs. He's got kind of like Usain Bolt kind of thing.
Well, yeah, he's got a very stocky egg-like body, hence the name Dr. Ivo Robotnik, and pretty lanky legs.
Eggs are famously aerodynamic.
That is true, though. Whereas, big spiky Sonic, I mean, they are spikes in the right direction for aerodynamicity. Yes. But, I still don't think that Sonic, even like original OG pudgy tiny boy Sonic, chunky boy Sonic, is quite big chungus Sonic, is quite to the level as the Eggman himself.
Well, the thing with, Sonic is, let's be honest, it's mostly the Chaos Emeralds that are making him go.
Whoa! That's like, Shadow. Shadow does that. Sonic, it's all natural for him. He doesn't even use he just has the emeralds for the sake of keeping them out of Eggman's hands more than anything else.
So, but then
Sonic.
Does that mean that he's actually going, like, it's all natural, all his speed is purely Sonic?
Yes. In fact, from what I remember, actually, I don't know how relevant this is, but in the Game Gear game Sonic Labyrinth, Eggman snuck shoes on Sonic's feet that made him slow. What does this have to do with anything? I don't know. I just want to say that. And yes, I know what you're thinking. If Eggman can sneak shoes, yeah, shut up. Look, it's not about actually killing Sonic or taking over the world. He just loves the chase. Or, well, the lack of chase in that game, because that was a weird decision to be all like, hey, you know what Sonic's known for? Let's take that away. So, yeah.
Eggman is fundamentally a horny version of Sonic. Sonic
I paid money for that game. Why did I pay money for that game? Surely I could have saved that money for something better.
Eggman is Sonic, who is horny, and
Go on.
Sonic is Eggman, who is not horny.
I think you might have wanted to say, like, smooth versus prickly, but yes.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I guess, according to the fans, the amount of times that I've seen Knuckles get impregnated, I think that it's fairly obvious that surely there's got to be a certain level of that, right?
I mean, yeah. I just feel like Eggman kind of has that Wario energy. Is just how I feel like.
I don't know. Wario is like Eggman is. He's like evil, but he's not like greedy. No, he's greedy, but he's got higher. He's got higher expectations, I guess.
He enjoys the finer things in life, like leather and motorcycles
and garlic, just eating a lot. Oh, he's also the fart man. He do fart.
Yes.
It's only a Smash Brothers thing, but unfortunately that is a part of his character now. Look, I hate it.
Unfortunately, that is canon.
I despise it, but unfortunately that is a part of his character. He's not just a treasure hunter who eats a lot of garlic. He also do fart.
I gotta say, I used to think Waluigi was cooler because he kind of had this like negative inverse energy with he's Luigi and he's Wario. He's just that far afield of Mario. But now I as I've gotten older,
that's like why I hate him.
I've come to appreciate that Wario is just cool. He wants to play guitar. He wants to shit all over you, and rub your nose in it, and he
I hate
wants
this
to have
part.
a
I
good
hate
time.
that Wario is the scat man, and not in the good way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean,
Waluigi
yeah.
is basically evil Player 2 Mario, and I hate that. I hate that people are all like, we love this concept. We were all like,
Yeah, well,
you know what we needed? More Mario. Let's make him evil
It's
and
like-
also green.
it's like
Well,
pitching the Riddler after somebody else, just like after the guy next to you pitched the Joker. It's like, oh, well, what if we have like a Riddler?
No, I mean, it's not even
Uh,
that. It would be more like, and what if we had a partner? Oh, that I guess was a sexy clown girl, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember where it was, but there was some sort of meme like 10 years ago, and it was like, if you like Luigi, it's because you were a younger brother of somebody and you played it. You played as Luigi, and you identify with that now. And it was just like everybody.
Let me tell
in
you,
the thread
people
was
with low
just like,
self-esteem. It's just like they only see themselves as second banana. Me, I'm a Mayro.
a Mario.
A Mario. A Mario. Carrie.
So we are, again, just like we are running out of content. This is like a
we got
desert.
21 minutes left. Oh God. Holy Christ. It's again, I have to say this is a good game. It's just it is kind of commentary poison.
It is. It's making Persona in that respect. It's making Persona look like.
Look, Persona is garbage, but at least it makes for good commentary. I don't want it. No, this is a better game than Persona. Fuck that. I'm not gonna say that.
Oh, it's much. No. Yeah. I mean, we're not gonna use your channel being able to talk about it as the mention for games. Like,
yes, the quality of
I
the
started
series.
playing Kentucky Route Zero. I don't think we'd be able to do that on this channel. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
Like,
the
what
thing
do
with
you-
this
what do you-
is that it's
let's
like
play of that.
I am contractually obligated to play it, regardless of if I think it's going to make for a good series or not.
Oh, that's a. By the way, speaking of which, that is something where I've been telling people this. Like, I have to say, I've known you for decades, and Kentucky Route Zero was the first game that I've ever suggested, I've ever mentioned to you in any context, any video game that you were like, oh, I've never heard of that, and I'm like, really?
I'm really
You've
into
never
the
heard it?
video game industry. It's for real. It's like
Like
no,
you are
I'm
like,
familiar.
I understand. It's weird that would happen only one time. Like, I'm not saying anything about that game specifically. I'm saying it's weird that, like, I'm not a total novice. I'm definitely much, like, you're literally a professional. I'm very much a
to a certain-
low-grade amateur.
For certain
But, like,
definitions.
The amount of knowledge that you have more than me to never not know a game in 20 years
I
is
think it's
just,
not-
it's beyond absurd.
It's not like super. Hey, nice. I like this one. It's not super difficult to do that. All you got to do is just think about like, hey, what's some game that I played on the DOS, on the DOS, yes, the disk operating system, as a child that is like seemingly nobody else has ever heard of. Like, because I swear, you know, they're like back on 4chan back in the day, it's like I would always frequent the like, hey, I'm looking for this game threads. And some of them I can figure out, but a lot of them I'm just like, I don't know, man. This is something that was like included in a box of cereal in like 1986.
Did you ever play Microsoft Golf?
Microsoft Golf. My dad did. That was my
Okay.
introduction to computer golf games, which are a very specific genre of things. You know, being like sort of simulation, but at least back in the day, not great. So it was very weird. I also remember, I mean, specifically, I have a very vivid memory of watching my dad play that game during the premiere of King of the Hill.
My
When that
God.
show was first out.
I'm glad that show is getting like a critical like reappraisal where people are like, wow, no, that might have been like the best show of the 90s. Nobody's saying
I was going to say,
that
it's
was
like, I
the
don't
best
think
show
anybody
of
was
the
saying that it
90s,
was a
but
very bad show.
I don't think anyone ever was like, oh, that's a bad show, but they were like, oh yeah, it's just that show about, you know, the South, and okay, it's pretty well written.
I mean, I guess
for what
like,
it is.
yeah, at worst, usually what I would see is it's just like, yeah, it's the thing in between Family Guy and wait, was Family Guy even? and Simpsons, basically. It's like, oh, well,
Yeah,
we
there
got to
was
sit
some
through this
overlap.
to get to the Simpsons, basically.
Well, remember Family Guy was on in like 90s, I think like 97, 98.
Was it? I
Like
thought
the-
that was early 2000s.
Because
That
the
felt
first two seasons were very. Remember, it had it's weird to say this because it is like such a like ubiquitous show, but it actually was canceled after 3 seasons.
Yeah, I do know that, but
And
it's just
then-
like I don't know if it was on prime time. Maybe I'm thinking more of like Malcolm in the Middle, and then there was The Simpsons, and then there was like King of the Hill, and then The Simpsons. There was something in between.
believe
There.
Ma-
Then we go watch
I
the
believe Malcolm in the
PJs
Middle was also on Sundays.
and the projects.
That was a really good, yeah. In the middle of the one-way street.
Middle of a dead end road of one way to. I shouldn't remember this. Like, how old was I even when that came out?
That was a decent show. I remember this like 10 years.
Why was
after
I
it
allowed
came
to
out.
watch that?
Yeah, I remember like it was a really good sociological show. Like it was like I remember this guy who was like, "Oh, I'm a sociologist," and I think that's my favorite show.
Hello,
And I'm
it's
like,
me,
wow, really?
a sociologist. And I'm here to talk to you about the old Fox claymation show, The PJs.
Yeah, just a fucking like lecture, like it's a seminar, like an entire like 4-day seminar just on the PJs.
I mean, I think the show only got like 1 season, didn't it?
It was pretty short-lived. I think it was maybe 2 seasons.
All I remember, frankly, all I remember is 1, the theme song, and like the weird claymation, and 2, calling a quiche a quickie. It's like, oh, this is gonna be fast to make, and it's like, oh, that's a good gag. That's all. This level took me forever to do, and I have no excuse why.
I don't know how you do this. Like you have to wall jump off the lower.
No, it's
ledge,
just
right?
basically what happened was I always kept trying to take that little curve in the upper right too quickly. It's like you want to kind of give yourself
okay.
like in that first jump that I did there, you want to give yourself like a little bit of room, and I always try to take it too tight. All right, anyway, back to the PJs. Yeah, and then it would end with the manhole cover. Also took place in Chicago, which is relatively near here.
We're in the greater Chicagoland area.
Oh, I always say Wisconsin these days. I've admitted it. That's still technically
Okay.
the greater Chicagoland area.
I do consider this is to be an elaborate suburb. Like we're the secondary suburbs
Yeah.
of Chicago.
I mean, basically the thing is I couldn't, continue the charade anymore because basically, they legalized marijuana in Illinois, and I said explicitly if they ever did that I would do a stream high. And it's like, how are you going to be all like, well, oh wait, you said you're in Chicago, and I'm like, I'm not.
You should have tried to. No, I get. Yeah, okay, fine.
No,
And it's
I wasn't. Like, where would I even go? Nobody knows. Nobody knows where to purchase things. A store,
Yeah,
I guess
I
I would
mean-
assume, but I don't. That sentence had nothing to do with the previous topic that we were speaking about.
and we got that accent where we say A's that messed up way, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's funny." That's Wisconsin.
West Wisconsin. We're not from the
Fargo.
UP, you know. When I got relatives from
You
there,
don't-
but
That's one of those the Upper Peninsula is just it exists. I know it exists. It's part of the same landmass that we're in, but it just feels like this completely just separate place. Just not even just a different state.
one
Just
would call
oh, that's that.
perhaps referred to
Yeah.
as Canada. But no, I got
part of
family
Canada.
up there, so I've been plenty of times. Up to Lake Superior. It's a very nice lake. It's a very cold lake.
Well, yeah, especially in the November.
And especially, when the snow is so bad that you literally have it above the door of the houses around there.
That's true, but that's also not a lyric from the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So I don't know what.
Oh
you
no, my grandparents literally can't open the door outside of their house.
Again, that's not a lyric. I don't know. Oh, really? Right now?
No, No, one of my uncles up there would always dig them out, but it's just like that was the thing where it's like it got that
Wow.
large.
Wow.
Yeah, the snow piles up there. Fun when you're a kid, I'll say that.
Mhm.
Some big old snow forts. But yeah, no, that doesn't have anything to do with anything, now, does it? Of
Yeah,
course,
I mean-
it's like again, yeah. Hey, we only got 12 more. Holy Christ! I don't know. It's like, I mean, I knew this. I knew it
We've
was gonna
got-
be like this, but I guess I didn't know that it
It's
was gonna
alright.
be like this.
Well, we've only got 6 more episodes of this.
Four. As you can,
Okay.
yeah, it's like there's 5 rows.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, yep. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just like select levels. What do you think?
I don't know. It's kind of one of those. It's pretty hypnotic visually. Like I think, like if somebody's watching this, or I guess they're probably listening to us and they're being like, "Oh, this is kind of relaxingly stupid, like banal stuff." Like, yeah, they're just talking about like
Just
oh, yeah,
talking about
where
how
they
much he
used
hates
to go and-
Waluigi. It's stupid. Guy that was taking roses out of his nose.
This is a little bit like a podcast. This is like a really like a. We usually like to be like a smart podcast. We usually like to be like, okay, we're making this intellectual.
Hey, we were
commentary.
talking
This
about
is more
like
like-
game design before.
This is more like we started a podcast because everybody, we knew people who were doing it. Like, hey, I bet I could do that. And then, like, no one ever told us, like, oh, you actually have to say interesting things. You have to be an interesting person.
We finally
to
started up
make a
the
podcast."
the podcast that I conceived of when we first began doing streams. Now that's what I call podcasting. No, now this is podcasting. Yeah, there we go.
Now that's podcasting. I thought it was.
No, it was
Right.
the episode 1 reference. That was the entire
know,
point.
I know. I thought I was doing it correctly, but I guess I wasn't. So we're fucked.
Yep. Well, shut it down, boys. Podcast. This level sucked. It takes a very long time to do, and this is the one that I was talking about where time was actually maybe something of an issue out of
I
any
can
of the
see that.
levels that I have done today.
Yeah.
Basically, because you sort of got to wait around for the spinny dudes, whatever you call them, dudes climbing along the walls to get into a favorable position. It doesn't take too
Oh, I
long,
see. You have to backtrack. Yeah, that's
but
challenging.
I'm sure if you're like speed running, there's better tech, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, due to
And
the
I
fact
mean,
that it
it's
takes
interesting because this game it develops so slowly with the mechanics that it's really, I mean, this feels like a pretty organic extension of everything that came before it, but it's also like it's a ridiculously large and complex level.
Oh yeah, you look
now
at like
that you're looking
the very
at it.
beginning of the levels, and then you look at this one, and it's just like Jesus. Like the
Mm-hmm.
amount of things, the amount of moving parts going on here is kind of wacky.
Ooh.
But yeah, enjoy that because it's just like there were like 50 other examples of that happening. I remember I was thinking that just like, should I even edit up this video, because it doesn't take me a whole long time to get through a lot of these levels, but this one in particular was the one that's just like, no, I should probably do that.
How long would you say it took you?
It was only actually like 10 minutes, but that's a whole Celeste thing where it's just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Mhm.
literally take that much time to do, but emotionally it takes a long time to do.
yeah.
When you're just
I just
whoops, I got through like 90% of this and then I screwed it up. Again, it's the roguelite thing.
Mhm.
Or roguelite, either one.
yeah. You get to the last level. Yeah.
And then you get to the last boss or something and then you die. And it's
Mhm.
just like, do it again, baby.
Yeah. And I've been having that with Hades. Like,
Mhm.
these are a lot of new experiences to me. Like, obviously, I've watched your channel enough where it's like, your streams, it's just like, okay, I get it. You do the whole run, and then it's like, oh, it all gets fucked because you kind
yeah.
of tilted on the
Dead
boss.
Cells especially is like an hour and a half for a run. Oh, and that's
Ooh,
me
yeah.
taking it fast, too.
Mhm.
It's like if that's like your first time in 5-cell mode and you get to the final boss and you die, it's like, ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's because it's like, it's so brutal. I've also been encountering that, like I was talking about earlier with Tower Climb, where that's like a 10-minute final boss fight.
I've been finding like
huge.
the psychology of these games is really amusing to me with like roguelike, because it's just like it is like I'm realizing just like I'm coming up with these concepts that I'm like, oh yeah, don't let your last run, you know, don't carry your last run with you. And I'm like, wow, that is such a stupid thing to say, but I'm sure but it's a real concept.
It makes sense. It's just like you gotta let go and let God with a lot of those games, where it's just like it doesn't matter how you did last time, because this isn't last time. It's like,
and you don't keep the skills. It's all gone. And
Hades actually do tend to keep a lot more stuff than usual in those games. But of course, I mean, you were saying that it's just like lost against the final boss. Final boss is a pretty rough one, I'll admit, right now.
Yeah.
It's like that ain't an easy boss fight at all. So, okay, I'm not surprised at all that it's just like you might be struggling with that. It's actually, again, speaking of Dead Cells, Hand of the King is big jump up in difficulty.
Yeah, and I've only started really doing the heat stuff. Like, I'm at the point where getting through the final boss in Hades is not like an existential challenge. It's like, okay, if I've got a decent build, I'm gonna probably do it.
Yeah, you feel confident. Are you gonna do the extreme measures version though? Because they got one for each boss.
Did you ever beat the extreme measures one?
I only did for the first 3 bosses. I think that at the point in time that I was playing, that wasn't available for the final boss just yet, so.
Okay. Yeah.
I had to wait for 1.0, and by that point, I played 70 hours of the game, and I'm just kind of like, well.
Yeah.
I got enough.
I gotta say, it is pretty satisfying to beat Extreme Measures Theseus.
Oh god, that fight. I mean, to be fair, it's like I have had people tell me that it's like that is one of like they actually kind of refer it to the original fight just because, hey, at least he doesn't have a shield this time.
Yeah. Which
I guess I don't know, man. It's like it's an entirely separate thing. It ain't like the Bone Hydra, which gets more difficult, but not like terribly. Yeah. So. It's
that's
just sort of a reasonable increase in difficulty. Whereas, like,
this is a wild level here. This is a wild level right here.
It's actually not too bad, as long as you know, as long as you have something on both sides of you, sort of a pincer attack, and just do that stuff like that. With a floaty jumping, you're actually pretty safe to stay in a single position.
Yeah, but it's kind of like it's a puzzle basically.
And also, figuring out how to do it fast enough. I was actually kind of a little bit low on time there, but...
Ooh, that was sweet. Yeah, a nice...
Big store there made it pretty easy. Yeah, if you're trying to rush through this, I can imagine that it's got to be like... Actually, it's probably not too difficult. Not likely.
Well, that's just an interesting puzzle. I mean, just solving that.
By the way, I just want to point out right now, it's like, oh, look at all those times in the upper right corner. Those clear cheaters there. It's like, okay, come on now. This one took me a little bit because it requires some specific usage of the momentum in this game, which I had some experience with, but not quite on the same level as like making this jump from here in particular. It's like, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
You gotta have a pretty good running start on that one.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting. I like that the levels are very like the levels seem very well designed in this game in general.
There we go.
Like this is really neat. Like that there are multiple ways to solve it, but it's like ultimately you have to be able to master that momentum.
And then you got the gold there too as an extra challenge in a lot of the levels, so it's like even if you're really confident in your ability to do all of this, there's still more challenges to be presented. Easier than it looks, as it turns out.
A lot of these seem like they're reasonably easy if you're not going for 100%, and if you're going for 100%, they're very difficult. Looks like
sometimes some of them are like not too bad at all, and I'm just like, you know what? Okay. I'm gonna be greedy for once, and not just on that one attempt. I did figure it out, and it's like that does create the cosmic clones and everything. So it's not really the most reasonable way to do this, but it does afford me a lot of extra time in case I get another one of those House of 10 Axes type of level. Axis? Axen.
Axes.
Axes. Thank you. I always default to the multiple of oxen for most things if I don't know it.
Yes.
Ah!
Uh,
Clearly only because I went in for the gold, too. It's like I would have been totally fine otherwise.
I love this.
Ain't gonna stop.
The design of this game. Like, this is such a cool little level here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like you can see how you got like these little chambers, which are just, pretty basic type of jumps. But then if you do go for the 100%, it's like it's an entire thing.
Yeah. This is one of those where, I mean, this is where not having any, quote, extraneous details is actually a benefit. Because you can just go all out with this stuff.
And then you just go right into this level, which is just, yeah. it's what it looks like. Irritable level syndrome. And I'm just like, you know what? Clearly I'm not going to do this because I didn't really understand the gimmick. So I just go all the way. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, this is also the last one of the A levels. So basically there's what? We're going to be doing B next time, or maybe select levels from B. I don't know. I'm going to see what the comments section looks like for this video.
They'll probably be like, oh, yeah, do this again. In fact, make it twice as long. Show all the runs.
Oh, you get all the... why aren't you getting all the gold, Scrub Lord? Like, geez, I thought that you were supposed to beat this game, not just take a casual walk through the landscape.
I thought you were supposed to be good at video games.
I never said that.
That's true.
I only ever said one thing, and that was simply put, hey, check it out. Here's Dead Cells. Then I would play Dead Cells for like an hour. Well, a half hour at the beginning, and now it's an hour and a half. I still think the ideal time for a single run of a game is about a half hour.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I do not think that a lot of game developers agree with me.
I think that's one of those things where, like, Dead Cells, yeah, like, especially for a roguelike, it's like, it is just frustrating to have, like, half an hour is a good, like, episodic experience.
Speaking of
like,
which, we're done now.